If the title of this video is not obvious enough, this video contains spoiler. Okay, thank you. Today, I would like to do a recap on Emilie's Story Quest. Initially, I want to do a commentary video about Emilie's visual design because of the controversy surrounding it, and in order for me to do that, I have to, of course, do her story quest. Now, I don't plan to make a character story quest in this channel because most of the time, the story follows a very specific formula, thus making the story very predictable. Unfortunately, Emilie's quest doesn't escape this formula. However, what makes me interested and want to talk about her quest is how interesting they improved the formula and genuinely surprised me because of the unexpected plot twists. It almost feels like you're reading a detective novel. We also get an interesting lore tidbit about DELUSIONS as well. While I don't think I'll be doing any theories in this video because Emilie's character quest is very straightforward and there's no lore bombs, I will give you my thoughts on what I think about this quest in the end. Of course, I know that some of you are unable to get the gist of the quest in case you're not using the English voice acting or you're doing the skip gaming because you only want the rewards, but don't worry, that's why I'm here. I'll recap Emilie's story quest in more detail because there's a lot of necessary context in order for you to understand the story, but I will also try to keep it to the point as much as possible. My traveler of choice is Ether, so I'll be referring to the traveler as he in this video. Also, since the quest setting is in Sumeru, I will use Nahida as well to provide additional context from the NPCs. Before we start, don't forget to give this video a like and comment so the channel can be noticed by the algorithm. I'm juggling my time as a college student, an artist, and video editing, so a little bit of boost will help this channel a lot, and that lets me know that I'm doing a good job. My name is Neko Kitsune, and I make lore and commentary videos on this channel to keep you company. The quest starts with me getting a Tighnari from single pulls in the standard banner, and on cue, Tighnari also appears at the beginning of the quest. You get it? Tighnari tells us that Port Ormuz is currently having a flower exhibition, showcasing flowers all across Teyvat. While Tighnari helps others who need him, we explore the exhibition, and thus, Emilie's story quest officially starts. Floral Depth, Blood 2. If this isn't the most Fontainian themed quest name, then I don't know what is. As Paimon is having a reaction towards the colliding floral scent, Emilie approaches us and gives Paimon an incense which instantly heals Paimon. Emilie explains that Paimon basically experienced hay fever from the flowers. She says that she is apparently a doctor, albeit not a traditional one either because her unusual patients, apparently. Tighnari then approaches us, forgetting to tell about the strong scent that might trigger the Traveler, which if you don't remember, Traveler do happen to have some allergy towards scents. Well, to some extent at least. If you remember from the time we entered Sumeru, the Traveler passed out from strong scent of Spirit Borneal when he approached Hypatia for directions. Anyways, we then learned that Emilie's reason to come here is to investigate a Fontainian flower named Agast that suddenly reappeared again in Sumeru after its extinction. Agast, which so happens to also be a perfume name, was the most demanded perfume back then. The demand was so large to the point one bottle can cost up to 10 million mora. Despite its extinction, the perfume remains to be the most expensive perfume mora can buy. Agast is also not a natural flower, but a cultivated one for perfume making specifically. Its flower beds were burned the moment the bubble burst. Because of the rumor of its reappearance, Fontaine's perfume price starts to increase once again. If Emilie can debunk the rumor that the flower is no more, perhaps the perfume market can return back to normal. Tighnari then suggests us finding Edgar, who was Emilie's perfume teacher when she was young and also the flower expert for the flower exhibition. To boot, he's also the creator of Agast when he was working in Fontaine, so we visited him at Shepper Hotel. We reached the hotel, which the whole building is rented as a storage for the flowers. We then meet Edgar and two other guests, perfume merchant brothers from Fontaine named Yude and Blaze. Anyways, Yude and Blaze came to Sumeru for the same reason, the reappearance of the Agast flower. As Edgar gives Yude and Blaze their keys, Paimon, being a rude uninvited guest, asks for free loading, to which Edgar denies the request due to the room being accounted for. Emilie sadly doesn't get a room as well. She however requested to leave her luggage in the hotel because it can be cumbersome to have them while she is camping. After a moment of awkward silence, Yude keeps her luggage in her stead, causing a rising suspicion to the Traveler. If you use Nahida to read Edgar's mind, he says that this is not a good time to have guests. They then enter the hotel to find a suitable place for Emilie's luggage. Yude and Blaze's room are indeed filled with flowers. As we enter, Youth asks Blaze to fetch Emilie's luggage at the port, and weirdly, Blaze doesn't respond immediately until Youth called him the second time. To show Emilie's gratitude towards their hospitality, Emilie told Blaze to take a case of amber wine, a specialty from Fontaine. The brothers then thank Emilie for it. If you have never heard of such a name, yes, amber wine is not a Fontainian specialty. Even the traveler never heard of such a thing. Suddenly, Edgar screams for help. Everyone quickly exits the hotel to find Edgar fell unconscious on the ground. His final words before he fell were Kyria and August, to which both Youth and Blaze seems to react strongly the moment they hear the name Kyria. Everyone then investigate the area while Emilie tends Edgar. I just want to say, hearing Fontaine's investigation team in Sumeru is quite a not yet interesting feeling. We found a bottle of perfume with little amount of liquid left, and while we asked Youth and Blaze, they don't really have anything to say either other than the kid has already left. While they claim to not know who is the culprit, it seems they know who Kyria is the moment we use Nahida to read their minds. As we take Edgar inside, Emilie is able to administer the emergency treatment, and it seems that Edgar was being forced to ingest a certain liquid. Emilie suggests researching more on what the liquid from the bottle is, but first, she needs to speak to Youth and Blaze, or who she reveals as Sylvain and Lucien. Before coming to Sumeru, Emilie asks a friend from Special Patrol, to which in this case should be Chevres, to look into the founders of August. There were 4 total August creators, Edgar being the perfumer and the limelight, a Sumeru researcher who is responsible for cultivating August flower, and the other 2 are merchant brothers who promote the perfume. The brothers basically capitalize August mythos. This caused a huge August and perfume price inflation, and these brothers were sent to the fortress of Mermonia for fraud and destabilizing the market. Youth and Blaze tried to counter her accusations, but Emilie counters them quickly. Blaze took a while to respond when Youth calls his name, but immediately responded when Emilie called him Lucien. Also, Youth did not realize that amber wine is the name of a perfume created by Emilie, and not an alcohol. If they are a perfume merchant, then they would have known that amber wine is a perfume, but they didn't. Because they were arrested in the fortress of Mermonia, they were cut off from the perfume world. After the traveler showed off his dull blade, seriously, you have 2 swords that are literally made by a dragon's remains and a delusional man who was about to destroy Fontaine. Could you at least show that off his Anyways, Emilie asks the brothers to tell her everything they know about Kyria because both Sylvain and Lucien might be in danger as well. In the middle of their time, the Maréchaussée Phantom approached them with a list of accusations, causing Edgar, Sylvain, and Lucien to serve their time in the fortress of Mermonia. Because Edgar was only convicted as an accomplice, his serve time was a lot shorter, and he left to Sumeru to leave his past behind. Ever since, he never made new perfumes but accepted students who wanted to learn the art of perfume. We also learned that the Sumeru researcher who was responsible for August cultivation is named Vijava. She was also being investigated by the Maréchaussée Phantom, but she committed suicide by burning the August flower beds along with the more they made from selling the perfume, resulting in her death and the evidence burnt in the fire. Kyria is also Vijava's younger brother, and apparently no one knew about him except the brothers and Edgar. After their operation was compromised, Kyria disappeared until recently, and it seems that not only he is able to cultivate August flowers, but also recreate the perfume. Sylvain denied August to be a poison when Paimon pointed it out and claimed that it just so happens that August is the perfume that was forcibly ingested to Edgar. He also says that perfumes are not meant to be consumed anyway, which honestly, he has a point because no matter how you look at it, perfumes are poisonous if you consume it directly, but sure, I digress, Paimon. As to why Kyria attacked Edgar, it might have something to do with his sister, but the brothers claim they don't know anything about Vijava's reasoning for her actions. They came back to Sumeru to check on Kyria and possibly to revive August's business. They never mentioned Kyria during the Maréchaussée investigation to protect him. After the brothers leave the room, the traveler and Emilie suspect that they're still hiding something, and further interrogation will only lead to more made-up answers. We then found out that Emilie is a forensic cleaner. Basically, her job is to clean up the traces of her dead patients. While her job is to clean, there are times where she saved her patients. We then told Tainari and a Sumeru officer, Shyam, about the current situation. Tainari then tells us he will update his findings about Vijava the next day. It's the next day, and we meet Emilie, who told us that Edgar's condition is a lot better now, albeit he needs more rest. She also shares her findings after analyzing a gust, saying that she found rather a small abnormal traces of elemental energy from the substance. Emilie says that she doubts it'll have a fatal effect on the body unless you are abnormally sensitive to elemental energy, even if you use them every day. Kole then approaches us, delivering a message to everyone from Tainari. There is no one by the name of Vijava from Academia's records. While there's a possibility that Vijava is an alias, there's a concerning discovery that there's no one in Academia's records that matches Vijava's research regarding the similar background. So, Vijava being a Sumeru researcher is a lie. As we were about to interrogate the brothers, Sylvain screamed from his room. You have the choice to enter Edgar's room first, which yes, I did that, and without Nahida's consent to read minds, we found Edgar, who seemed surprised that he is alive. Anyway, the gang hurries inside the brothers' room, finding Sylvain crying while Lucien is lying on the floor. Lucien is dead, and unlike Edgar, who still had a chance, we are already too late. Kole brought Sylvain to his room while the Traveler and Paimon called Officer Shyam to join the investigation. Emilie shared her further findings as she ran tests on Lucien, and turns out that unlike Edgar's case, who was forced to ingest a gust, Lucien's case is that he inhaled a gust without him knowing, which Sylvain immediately responds that there's no way a gust can kill anyone, at least if you inhale it just for one night. Sylvain panics the moment he slipped his words, and to which Edgar comes into the room to confess the truth about a gust. Vijava's real name is Yelena, and as you can guess from the name, Vijava, or perhaps Yelena, is a Snezhnayan and to boot an exiled Fatui member. The flower Agast was cultivated with mutated and distorted energy from delusion. The more you are exposed to the flower, the more harm it'll cause to the body. Sylvain finally starts to come clean. Yelena wanted to cultivate the flower and the perfume more, as no one knows how long the bubble may last. The perfume has no effect towards ordinary people, only for Yelena to speculate that a gust may have a harmful effect over time. Unless you are sensitive towards elemental energy or shove the entire liquid to your throat, you will be fine. Of course, there are still serious side effects, and objectively speaking, all of them are still lying, despite there's no case of anyone getting poisoned from a gust. Combining all the evidence that a gust was made by a Fatui and a delusion, that's enough proof to sentence Yelena, Edgar, Sylvain, and Lucien to life in the fortress of Mermead. Then how about Yelena's death? Was that fake too? Unfortunately, it's not. The only thing that is fake was her identity as a Sumeru scholar. Otherwise, everything else was true. If anything, she burned the flower beds to destroy the evidence so that the Marchese Phantom did not arrest them, but she also ended up to commit suicide. Why did she do that? Basically, to protect her brother, Kiria. You see, there's a reason why delusions are very dangerous being used by ordinary people. We learn from Inazuma's third act of Archon Quest that the excessive use of delusions, while granting you power, will also slowly take your life, thus aging your body rapidly. And we learned this the hard way when Teppei wanted to prove himself so badly only to find the mice from using delusions way too much. This goes the same with Yelena. Because of her using the delusions too much, her body aged rapidly. Both Yelena and Kiria are from the Fatui, and the reason both of them fled is so Yelena can protect her brother from following her footsteps. However, with the obvious Agast as the byproduct of delusion and Yelena's body, this became unbearable, and there's no way that Fontaine and Snezhnayan authorities would notice. So she jumped to the fire, leaving Mora and Kiria behind so he can run and get a new life. So yes, the Mora was not destroyed, but was given to Kiria, which included Sylvain and Lucien Scott. Of course, after the brothers left the fortress, they were trying to find Kiria in order to get their Mora back, and of course, the flower as well, to continue the business, until they realized that all of the August rumors coming back was a trap. But why did Kiria not notice Yelena's deteriorating body? In order for Kiria to not notice this, Yelena used heavy makeup to cover up her deteriorating body. It's rather too late at this point. Even if we tell Kiria what happened, it's more than likely that Kiria will try to find justification that his sister was being forced to use delusion for Mora, etc. Despite all this, Edgar himself admitted that he is not fully innocent either. It's because of greed that all of them turned like this. Sylvain fell into more despair the moment Edgar pointed it out, asking whether their crimes were really worth their life taken. Honestly, the moment I rewatch my video recording, the whole scene is just too heavy to watch because even I can't imagine what I would say if I was in that room and witnessed such a thing. But like Emilie said, only the judge can give the answer. Shyam told everyone that he will report to the academia and they will contact Fontanian authorities to put Sylvain into trial. However, Edgar also volunteers himself to be taken as well because like he said, crime is crime and he is ready to face the trial as well. Shyam agrees to use the hotel as the place for Sylvain and Edgar's temporary detainment until the next day where the authorities will fetch them. Of course, waiting the next day has its own issues. Kiria is still out there, so in order to capture him, Edgar suggests spreading words that Edgar and Sylvain will leave Sumeru tomorrow to be arrested, basically using both Edgar and Sylvain as bait to lure Kiria out. Since Edgar is a well-known figure as the kind man to people of Sumeru, this plan worked and everyone is indeed talking about him. In the meantime, Shyam will have his men guard the hotel from the shadows. As we head back, Cole asked as to why Kiria did not kill both Sylvain and Lucian together. He had the opportunity to do so, especially that Sylvain's door was not locked. It's just a hypothesis from both Emilie and Cole, but likely, he wants Sylvain to feel how it feels like to lose a sibling. So this murder was indeed planned and in my opinion, a very cruel one indeed. We then meet Shyam and Edgar, who was tending his plans. Shyam suggested the Traveler and Emilie to station at Lucian's room, as Sylvain has the highest risk of getting attacked. So, we do just that. Unfortunately for you, I forgot to force Nahida to use her mind-reading abilities, so yeah, we'll just skip ahead. We waited for Kiria to appear, but time passed and nothing happened. From evening to night, there's no action at all. It's as if Kiria has given up on the plan. Because there's nothing interesting in the room, Paimon suggests looking at the flowers, to which there's a glazed lily that Paimon only notices now. It's very easy to miss, trust me I was too, because the glazed lilies only bloom at night. Yes, I can prove to you that this indeed is not just a gimmick for the quest, this in fact happens in the game. Emilie connects the dots, and Sylvain is in danger. The moment Emilie opens Sylvain's room, there's a strange floral scent filling his room, and Sylvain lies on the bed, fully unconscious. The news of Sylvain's death has spread across Port Ormuz, causing a commotion in front of the hotel. Emilie was taking care of Edgar and his flowers during the commotion. With their sentiments shared and Edgar already aware of his demise, he wishes for Emilie to take care of his flowers whether he is killed by Kiria or sent to Fontaine for trial. Emilie leaves the room and Edgar takes the perfume of a ghost from his plant. Unfortunately for you, it seems Nahida hated me so much to the point she left the team. Even all Hatham left the team. So mean. So, what happened? How did Sylvain die? Basically, a sample of a ghost was implanted inside Glazed Lily in Sylvain's room. It acts as a container, and when it blooms at night, the ghost sample would explode as the Glazed Lily blooms. By the next morning, the august sample should be fully evaporated, and any lingering odor would be overpowered by other flowers in the room. This way, Kiria doesn't have the need to step into Sylvain's room to commit the homicide, because his plans are already in place beforehand. There's also an unanswered question. If a ghost's side effects only affect people who are sensitive to elemental energy, does that mean it's just a happy coincidence that Sylvain and Lucian have the same condition? No. Kiria used Spirit Borneal to heighten a ghost's effect. The effect is the same as the primordial water. While primordial water can heighten your senses to elemental energy, so is Spirit Borneal. Since Spirit Borneals are common to use in Sumeru indoors, this doesn't cause any suspicion towards anyone. Combined with the flower exhibition currently underway, there's no reason for people to be suspicious why there's so many flowers in the hotel room because the whole hotel was rented to become a flower storage. Everything was planned, a perfectly designed plan, and in fact, a meticulous one. Then what about Kiria? It seems it's all a coincidence as to everything that has happened. He's not connected to the exhibition, and if anything, he feels like someone who just bought in to fulfill his revenge. The thing is, he has always been under our nose. That's right, Kiria has been Edgar all along. Because Edgar is responsible for the flowers in the exhibition, he used the more Yelena left him to rent the whole hotel as a flower storage. So yes, all of these are not even coincidence, but meticulously planned by him. But wait, he was a teen when Yelena committed suicide, and Edgar is now in his elderly, so how did it come to this? Easy. Delusion. Yes, Edgar, or should I say Kiria, used delusion to recreate a ghost flower, causing him to also rapidly age. Also, do you know why Nahida hated me so much at this point? That's right, she already knew that Edgar was Kiria all along, and was afraid that I would spoil too much for you guys. I also lied when I say I forgot to force Nahida to read his mind because I actually did. And when you read Edgar's mind before you enter Lucian's room to guard for Sylvain, he actually said that he has done what needs to be done. This is not mentioned by the game, but when Kiria was tending his flowers, he was actually setting up his plans all along. The moment Sylvain was in distress because he lost his brother, Kiria set up a ghost inside the glazed lily inside Sylvain's room because he knew Sylvain was so down to the point he would not notice anything. Judging from how Sylvain died, it seems that Kiria did the same towards Lucian. It's just that he killed Lucian first so Sylvain can feel more despair before he dies. On cue, an eremite guard barged in, told us that Edgar was kidnapped by Kiria. It's hard to tell, but they said that there was a black figure that exited Edgar's room. Since you already know the context of Kiria's rapid aging, yes, he used his delusion. This of course caused more harm to his body. So why did he do that? He got his revenge, so why? Yes, he is willing to commit suicide. We then chase Kiria to his garden of a ghost. The scent is nice, but it's so hard to breathe. The reasoning is simple, the ghost flower. While the flower has a nice scent, it is still made by the delusion. We also found an eremite guard who was chasing after Kiria, but fell as he entered the garden. Unable to accept that Edgar is Kiria, Emilie accepts that there is a very high chance that the real Edgar was already killed in Fontaine. In order to look like him, Kiria forcibly aged himself to look like Edgar and studied perfumery. In order to avoid people seeing through his facade, he stopped making perfumes and accepted students instead. All he needs to do is grow a beard and add a glass and everyone would believe that he is Edgar, a perfumer from Fontaine. Years gone by, he gradually took off his disguise one by one. While this might not have any solid proof, it actually does, because Sylvain said that he almost did not recognize Kiria as Edgar at the beginning of the quest. After the Eremites and colleague exit the garden to survey the area, the traveler, Paimon, and Emilie enter the garden. We encountered so many august flowers along the way. Despite only needing a few to fulfill his revenge, he wanted to create more in order to kill himself. The moment he forsook Snezhnaya, fled from Fontaine, and now he lives under the guise of someone else, perhaps he has no place to call home, and killing himself in the field of a ghost is the closest way he can die and closer to his sister. Kiria arrived at his desired spot. As the gang was about to approach him, he chucked a bottle of a ghost, ending his own life. He then had a dream of burning a ghost field from Fontaine. He confessed everything to his sister, how he felt the moment he found out the truth from Sylvain, and apologized to his sister, only for his sister to push him away and leave him. The scene is heartbreaking, especially in Korean because he refers to Yelena as Nuna, which means sister in Korean, and screamed her name in heartbreak the moment she pushed him away. He then wakes up, finds Emilie, and asks why he is still alive. Turns out that Emilie swapped the real August with the fake one when he was tending Kiria. The moment Emilie noticed the August sample from the glazed lily, we already made a plan to corner Kiria. Sylvain is still alive, and in fact, the commotion was a trap for Kiria. The cutscene we see is basically how Emilie knows the place where August was hidden. Perfumes need to be saved on a low temperature and avoided from direct sunlight. And since he is the expert for the exhibition, he asked the academia for a specific flower pot. Since he pretended to be attacked at the beginning, that means he didn't have a lot of room to move in order to avoid suspicion. Lying to Kyria that Sylvain is dead is the best way to bring his guard down, and also the only way to avoid Kyria from using his delusion to spread August's scent throughout Port Ormuz. Kyria then asked how Emilie replicated August's scent because it's hard to replicate. Despite August being hard to replicate it, Emilie simply answered that people did not stop researching how to replicate the scent. The flowers that Emilie used were rainbow roses, glaze lilies, and cecilias, the same flower that caused Paimon to have a hay fever at the beginning of the quest. Despite all of them contradicting towards each other the moment they met, they were the crucial ingredients to replicate August. Sadly, because Kyria was too blinded on his revenge, he lost himself to the point that August to him is a lot more than just a bottle of perfume. The answer made Kyria surrender, as he was satisfied with the answer that Emilie gave. With this, Kyria lost. He will now be detained and put on trial along with Sylvain in Palais Mermonia. Few weeks later, we met Emilie at Hotel du Bord in Fontaine. Emilie then gives the Traveler and Paimon her newest perfume release named Yelena, an improved version of August. Traveler asked Emilie about Kyria's final question, and it seems that to Kyria, those flowers have a deeper meaning. Indeed, if you take a look at their description, the flowers represent some similarities to what August is supposed to mean. Rainbow roses represents passion, glaze lily represents memories, while cecilias represents freedom. What Emilie says, forget the past and keep on living. That's the meaning of August flower. Despite Emilie telling Kyria about the meaning of the flower, Kyria didn't seem to care at this point. Perhaps it didn't mean anything at all, is Kyria's response. And clouded with revenge, this is the path that he already chose from the very beginning, even if he won't get the result he wants. Despite that, he gave his thanks to the Traveler, Emilie, and Paimon for teaching him the meaning of August flower. With that being said, this is where Emilie's story quest officially ends. I have to say, this quest is heavy. Usually I wouldn't bother myself with story quests because most of them are very predictable and uninteresting. But Emilie's story quest, I have to admit, is one of the better ones that I've read so far. While this quest talks about the NPC a lot, the game shows Emilie's personality perfectly. Combined with her as a forensic cleaner and a perfumer, it makes Emilie's job as both more plausible because the two are somewhat connected, I guess. Let's do some fantasy logic a little bit. If you're a forensic cleaner, then you will be susceptible towards scent of a crime scene, and because of Emilie's other job as a perfumer, this makes her very sharp when it comes to logic and crime scene because her ability with a sharp sense of smell. Even though her teacher turns to be a criminal, Emilie remained objective and still sent him to the trial anyway. This quest really teaches you how revenge won't get you anywhere but more pain and sorrow. Especially if you live all your life only to get revenge on those you hated the most because you lost your loved ones. It's quite a pity too because Kyria was given a chance to live a normal life by his sister, but he chose the path of revenge. It also gives us how complicated it is when you live through a crime or revenge the whole time, right? In order for you to not get caught by the authorities, you have to go so far to hide your identity, go through numerous plans, and in case of Kyria, live a different life just to fulfill his revenge. It's really weird too because unlike Vache, where you just can't feel bad about him, Kyria's case is different because it makes you feel bad why he did what he did. He committed homicide because of a misunderstanding and lost his sibling only to find the truth 2 decades after that. Like what Kale said, it's already too late at this point, even if we tell Kyria the truth. And we see that in Kyria's case, he is just at the point where he can no longer return, even after knowing the truth in front of his eyes. Honestly, I don't even know if I have anything to say regarding to this regard because things like this can be really complicated. Of course, I think that Kyria deserved it, and while some people do think that he doesn't deserve it, I do have to say that I can't help but feel bad for him. Yes, at the end of the day, Kyria's plans were disgusting, but this could have been avoided if he just moved on from his sister's passing. But again, there are some people who think that revenge is sweet, so really, it's a really hard topic for me to even comment about. While it's unrelated, this quest not only makes me appreciate Emilie more as a character, but also makes me appreciate Neuvillette as well as a judge. This quest really makes me think that being a judge must be a very difficult job, and knowing how emotional Neuvillette is as a character, He must have felt sad inside, and we can see how many times Fontaine has reigned from the several trials in Palais Mermonia. While you can't help but feel bad, but at the same time you have to remain objective no matter the person's sad or tragic background. This not only make me think Neuvillette is the best when it comes to his personality, but also his character. I really do hope you guys enjoyed this recap. If you guys like this video, please don't forget to give this video a like and comment so the channel can be noticed by the algorithm. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Ciao, mata!